I guess people forget that we are also human beings. You are the first chairperson for the women's wing of the All India Road Transport. I think that deserves an absolute round of applause.
Nothing better than joining family business. This era is not only about safeguarding women, it's also men. Even I think men are equally protected by their parents. Please say only where you can say yes. What we did was for our internal happiness. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you, CargoTalk, for inviting me.
Hi everyone, welcome back to yet another episode of She Moves Cargo. I don't know when this episode is going to air because I don't know how we are going to launch all the episodes and how the planning is. But I hope and I sincerely pray that if you have joined us and you've seen our first episode, you continue being with us, because this is something different that the people at CargoTalk are wanting to do and are doing, is to highlight the women. We always highlight women now, touch wood, by grace of God and all. But the idea is that behind the smiling woman that you see with all the power and the glam and the glamour which comes from all the hard work, what is important is that you also see that they are a real beating person with real life problems, how they solve it. They have families, they have responsibilities besides work. Sometimes our names, our positions, the roles that we play in the industry encompass us. Still, I guess people forget that we are also human beings. So with this podcast, the idea was to show the real woman behind the mask that she wears every single day to work, and to give you a tiny little glimpse into what makes them these amazing, powerful women that they are. I am privileged and honored that all the people, all the ladies that I am interviewing, I have a connection with them somewhere, sometime, somehow. And it's an absolute pleasure to hear them and learn new facets about them that I didn't know in my friendship with them or my relationship with them. So it's so very important. And I want to say thank you to CargoTalk for giving me this opportunity of doing it. And therefore, I take absolute pleasure in introducing my today's guest, who is the most vivacious, phenomenal lady. I think I can give her the moniker of the First Lady of Transport. So I welcome Miss Reema Kothari. She and I bumped into each other, I think at one of the conferences at the Orchid Hotel. And she came and said, Chaitaly, I think you spoke very well. And then there was just like that instant connect. She says, I'm into transport. And I was like, okay, why don't you come join the women's wing for Triple FA at that time? And we started talking. And ever since that, we've been friends. We bump into each other socially. We've worked with each other. You are also part of the women's wing. I have to say congratulations to you. You are the first chairperson for the women's wing of the All India Road Transport. I think that deserves an absolute round of applause. And I'm sure we are going to discuss that also as to how it happened. But it is always a pleasure to meet you, Reema. And I may not get many opportunities to tell you this, but you never ever show the stress. You're always smiling like this. So for the audience, this is not Reema Kothari because she's doing a podcast and there's being interviewed, but this is who she is really. And she's always smiling. I have yet to see her frown. I have yet to see her lines, which unfortunately are there all over my forehead now. But a pleasure, Reema. And I hope you enjoy the podcast. We've had an absolute, when you said yes, I was like, yes. I'm so happy that Reema has said yes. And I'm glad that our schedules could align and we could do this today.
Thank you. She's just made me sound like I'm some heroine of some, industry.
You
Absolutely not. I think I was really inspired when I heard Chaitaly for the first time. And, you always look up to someone. And when I heard her, she was effortless. And, my first session was like, I went back and I thought, oh my God, how nervous I was. And thank you for inviting me. Thank you, CargoTalk, for inviting me too. And
pleasure.
It's such a privilege to get you as a moderator who's going to ask me, it could not be anyone better. So thank you so much.
I am glad. Thank you,
And
honestly.
sometimes actually, I think that's what the industry needs. People don't need to be peers or colleagues. They need to
Yes.
have friendship, right?
That's true.
And they need to have that connect. So I think we
Yes.
have that. So thank you. Thank you
Yes.
so much.
You're most welcome. And it honestly, the pleasure is mine. And I understand when you have a safe space, it's easier to talk. And that's what we want to create this with the podcast series. And if you guys are going to watch this regularly and come back to us with good comments, and please send us reviews on the YouTube, Spotify, wherever they are going to post this and publish it, and also write to Cargo Talk saying good things, then maybe the powers to be, including Mr. Sanjeev, who still thinks I have not reached there and I need to reach there, might just get tempted to give me a season 2. So if you think we should have a season 2, then please write nice comments. Otherwise, they're not just going to ask me the next time. Having said that, we're going to get into the whole thing. I have to ask you this because I didn't have anybody else to ask this without them thinking that I'm a little cuckoo in my head. When you get named, when your business is named after you, right? Especially something like a transport business, because obviously it's very different as compared to having a company or an industry. You know how it is, because transport is man, man, man,
Very,
man,
very
man.
oriented.
And I think I'm right in saying you're the first lady of transport.
One of the first.
One
yes.
of the lady. But for me, that's okay. So you are the first lady of transport. Till I meet the second lady. So I have to ask you this. How does it feel having, what was uncle's foresight? Did he ever think that the situation would change and that you would one day carry on the mantle and actually be the face to the Reema Transport that is there? Or did he think that, acha, beti aayi hai, Lakshmi hai, આપણે બિઝનેસનું નામ કરશું અને then we will see how it works.
So honestly, I was 5 when this company was formed, right?
Okay.
And individually, how the road transport used to work, they used to have one sector, one company. So typically, that's how my father started. He actually started with a 3-wheeler tempo, burnt tempo, and so he actually got my grandfather into this business.
Oh, lovely.
And Reema Transport was decided by my dad and my grandfather to be named.
Oh.
So of course my father had, ABK Transport, Union Transport, and he had different names of different.
Correct.
Transpac, and this actually started. So when my grandfather joined, we also have a partner, Dilip Naik, and my father is Ashok Kothari. So my father started this with Dilip Naik, and ever since then, so I don't think he had anything. I think I was just too lucky, and I keep telling him, Reena got you to start business. That's my sister, but I got you. You should give me royalty for the name, which is Reema Transport now. So yes, but he was very, very sure that he never kind of foresee that I would join the business. And he always is a person, he said, you have to do what you like, but definitely you have to be independent.
Correct.
So when I did my post-graduation, he said, so actually that time I was curious because I've always seen his journey, how he used to pick up calls, talk to people, and when there used to be a robbery, how he used to get involved and how he used to catch the material with the cops. And
Correct.
so it was very interesting, very challenging. But of course, it was scary. At that point of time, I was
Of
a
course.
child. But honestly, even I never thought I would join. But I think it was just, as a woman and as a person I always want to be challenged. And I think I'd done that journey. Because in beginning of your career, you keep switching jobs
Yes.
to understand what you really like.
Correct.
And yes, so he didn't really have anything in mind that I would join. But yes, fortunately, I've joined and it's brilliant.
I always, envy a little bit when kids have so much more clarity and vision. Because now when I think back to when I was 16 and 17 and 18, and I feel like, oh my God, I was such a duh. Because I didn't have all of these thoughts or processes that how is it going to happen. It either depended on my mood on that day, or if I've read a book and I go like, okay, now this is what I'm going to be like. Eric Segal's, doctors. I thought that I'll just study meds, go to New York, go to at that point I didn't even know that Howard was in Boston and it was not in New York, but I've just had this fascination with New York forever. So I was like, I'm going to New York, I will go to Harvard, I'll find myself a nice man, and eventually it was all going to go down the drain only. So, and it's so funny that you say this, or rather I should say it's so uncanny, because my dad also, in his Janmakshar, it's written that after your daughter is 7 years old, all the luxuries and all will happen. I've never asked my dad for royalty or royalty. I should probably now start asking, because my dad always keeps telling me, when I'm like, "Mari paase aana thi, mane aam joye che," to mane ki, but you have so much of luxury in life. You know how dads go, right? And but you have everything. When does it become sufficient? I said, I'm not an altruistic person. I'm a normal person with desires. I think I'll have desires till I die. So, and if I don't get them, so anyway, he has like a Juhu Beach story that he keeps telling me. But no, I completely agree. So I think I should go back and tell him about the royalty part.
But I don't get loyal. I get a salary being a
Please,
director.
hello, I should.
So this is now it's your business. Now
correct.
You guys have
so
to handle it.
Unfortunately, this is not my podcast or my interview. Otherwise, I would tell you free labor. My father had free labor. My father's friends had to intervene and say, "Listen, Haresh, बहुत है गयो, you better start paying the girls some money," because he made me work 12 and 14 hours a day. I took my first holiday 18 years later, and he wouldn't pay me money, and the crap that it is. So he says, if you're not happy, find another job. I mean, I'm like, that's not how it's working.
Yeah, like he kept telling me, so like I was saying in my earlier thing, so I never decided. So I have actually worked with extremely.
Yeah.
I've worked in professional background. I've worked with MCX. I've worked with media companies.
Oh, lovely.
I've worked with Meow FM, National Geographic.
What are you saying, National Geographic? So this is something I'm learning about Reema for the first time. National Geographic, it used to be one of my favorite magazines.
Star Movies, and before that I worked in EY, KPMG. So I've worked like in different streams, right? So I started with selling financial products. Then I went into working with a consultancy firm as a knowledge manager with KPMG and EY. Then I realized, oh, this is not me. I love meeting people. I love talking to them. What am I doing? I'm, of course, internally selling, but I really need to meet the people and I need to do real work. And a friend actually told me, why don't you join media sales? And then I joined media sales, and I always had a mentor. Honestly, my life became simpler because at any field I was always guided.
Oh, and you're so lucky
and so
blessed.
Important.
That's
of course, Dad has always been a mentor but I was not working with him, right? So at every field, I used to keep asking questions. I used to be curious, and I realized I love sales. And then I realized now I've done enough sales, and nothing better than joining family business, right? Eventually, and I think it was. So as salesperson, you have targets, and you achieve your targets and you do well, then you feel, okay, I need something more challenging.
Agreed.
And that's when I said, Dad, I'm joining your business. And he went like, really? And Satya Karwani, like, you're really going to do it? And I said, yes. He said, you make sure you're not joining as owner. I said, Dad, please, like, you told me work outside because I have to be sure where I want to do. Now I think I need to take up more challenging roles. I know I'm not joining a family business, and don't worry, I've learned my lesson. And he always told me, he said, it's not that I can't afford to give you luxuries, but you have to earn it. And also at the same time, you have to understand, you have to know how to live in your means.
Agreed, totally.
And that is something which I always have it in me.
Yeah.
Don't spend, enjoy yourself, but also know where your limits are.
Correct.
And be planned, forecast.
Yes.
So that is something which he always has taught me, and it's always going to stay with me. And even when I used to have a salary, and I used to always give it to him initially. And then, of course, eventually he said, now you can handle it now.
Correct.
So he used to tell me this much you have to save, where you have to put in money, what you have to do.
Correct.
So when I said, how much are you going to pay me? I said, I've always been, and I said, I'm not going to work on Saturdays because I've never worked on Saturdays. Of course, if there is work, you know how Chaitaly industry is.
Yes, you don't really, yes, of course.
I said, of course, I'm available on phone, and if I have to reach out, I'll definitely reach out and I'll go to work. So he said, yes, you can join. And of course, I'm sure you'll have a lot of questions to ask me what
Of
the journey
course,
is going to be. So I will take it
because
along that way.
it's uh, there are so many similarities, but there's also this. Like my father keeps telling me, you use your my father doesn't own a credit card, so he doesn't understand EMIs, and he doesn't he doesn't understand the loans on the credit cards and all. And I've been doing my own finance for a while now, so I do my own shopping and things like that. So he goes like, do you really need these shoes? And if you're buying an expensive bag, he says, do you have the money to put in your bag? Because I don't tell him the price of the bag because I'm not spending that much, but obviously for that shock factor, because I like, there's a little
Yeah.
bit of pervertness, right? That you want that thing to. So I'll tell him, okay, this bag is so many lakhs, but I got it for this and that and all. He says, "But tari paas paisa ji." So, it's something so typical. And I've realized that dads, including uncle yours and a bunch of my friends fathers, when they start from ground level, right, and they have built it themselves, their level of sensibility, their level of what is important, what is not important, is very different as compared to somebody who sits on the galla directly.
Completely.
And I have noticed this in all the self-made people. Like my father thinks watches should not be more than 2,000 rupees. So when I gave him an ultimatum, I said, if I'm not getting this, so I've always wanted an Omega. Then my cousin introduced me to the Baume & Mercier. So I'm like, if you're not giving me either one of the two, then I will go and do it, but it's not going to go very nice. So I remember when he bought the watch with my sister and my mom for me, it was the Riviera Baume & Mercier. This is the newer version. He could not sleep for 2 nights because he had never spent so much of money. He's like, Atla paisa, are you sure? Can we return? I said, no, you're not returning. I am keeping that watch.
So sorry, I'm going to just say,
No,
this,
please.
I can just, what you're saying, I can relate. So I have to kind of tell him, Dad, you've bought both the daughters up. I have an older sister. Her name is Reena.
Yeah.
And, they have limited needs, right?
Yes.
And they, like you said, they are budgeted. They
Yes.
will forecast. They
Yes,
will plan.
yes.
And of course, he's taught me that. But at the same time, like he would say, you bought this for so much? Like, seriously, do you all really need it? Like, what is it? And I would be like, Dad, aspirational. There's something called aspirational needs. And in fact, I said, now you need to have aspirational needs. So trust me, Chaitaly, even today when I go, he will tell me, let's go for shopping. He'll tell my sister, let's go for shopping. If he goes for any event, he will say, should I wear this?
Yes.
And I'll tell him, Dad, you have that shirt which was so good. We bought this branded,
Correct.
denim for you. Same to luggage, he's just
I know what you're saying.
I said, Dad, it's just about having you've done it all, now you
Correct.
live your life.
Correct.
Now it's your time.
True.
And at the same time, it's our time. So we will not,
True.
because when you've done it
Yes.
from ground, and they'll always, when it comes to their daughters, they don't really think.
Yes.
They will spend, they will not sleep, but they will want their daughters to have it all.
Agreed.
But when it comes to their needs, they will somewhere suppress it.
Oh, I completely agree. So when my dad tells me how he used to buy stuff for my sister and me, and I still get goosebumps because it's, to suppress your own needs. So I have my mother and my father. With my mother, I learned equality, that if you have two children, both of them get equal.
Correct.
And, there are certain parents who will do that. But with my mother, she's like, if I have the money, both of you get it. If I don't have the money, neither one of you will get it. But buying the same time, it's thasib. Agal pachal to nahi hai. With my mother, I learned that sometimes indulging yourself is also good. Like my father, for the longest time, bought fabrics for us. I learned my sense of aesthetics, beauty, what is nice, what is not there. All of that is through my dad. My mother wouldn't care who's, but of course, she was the best dressed woman. And I fell very short in that. But she would do that. But, my love of shoes comes from my dad. So he bought me my first pair of handmade moccasins.
Wow.
And from Bangkok, and I only now wear moccasins and I buy them. And he's like, so he lets me indulge in my love of food and in my love of shoes and things like that. Once in a while he says, Atla monga shoes. So I remember the first time I called my mother from Hong Kong saying, listen, $5,000. That time it was 4 rupees. So it was 20,000 bucks. I'm like, there are these Manalos and they fit perfect. They were like Reema skin gloves. I can't even describe that. So I'm like, can I just buy? And I had this credit card which had 40,000 rupees, much against my father's wishes. And that time, that 40,000 meant like 40 lakhs because
Pinches, yeah.
and I went like, oh my god, I have so much of money, that 40,000.
I have the window to spend.
Yes,
so
so
much.
I have the window to spend. Not that I spent, but it was just my own, right? Considering the piddly salary that he was giving me, so that was what I was eligible for. My mother calls my father, says, Chaitaly na atlu buy karu. So my father calls and says, tu Adarsh ma atla shoes peri na. Because that Adarsh had a lot of potholes. I said, but so on the હું ગાડીમાં જઈને ઉતરીને પછી હું પહેરીશ. જરા તું વિચાર કરને, you think આદર્શમાં you will wear 20 grand shoes. And I said, okay. So, and then I have regretted it to the day because now Manalos don't make the moccasins anymore. But of course, now I don't ask my parents and I buy. But mentally, I have a limit as to how much I'm going to spend. And then I'm like, okay, if I'm doing this, I'm not doing this. And if I'm doing this. But he taught me like deferred. So then I tell him sometimes out of frustration, I said, oh, deferred karis ne, ke that Juhu beach is always going to be there. So I said, I will be 80 years old and I will have no need
and
for it.
your aspiration will only stay.
Yes. So I said, it doesn't work like that.
So what are we working for? Why are we also
Correct.
growing, right? Somewhere down the line, that balance is very important.
Yes.
If you don't have it,
Yeah.
you will not spend. But if you have it,
Yeah.
you should spend.
Of
And
course.
at the same time, like you said, like my mom is exactly the way your mom is.
Yeah.
She never had this, okay, this daughter will get less, this daughter will
Correct.
get. And trust me, my sister, so for me, my sister and her best friend, they are like my go-to people, okay?
Correct.
My sister 7 years older. But fashion, like, they will keep pampering me. Okay, you have to hear this something very interesting.
Please.
I am not a scholar at all.
Yeah.
Okay, I am not a finance person. I love talking. I love meeting. I can be a marketing person. I can be a salesperson. I love having connects one-on-one. And my sister is a CFA. I have done my post-graduation. Her best friend, who's like a sister to me, she's a CA. So they are like, I really look up to them. So they are the ones who introduced me to brands. And I didn't even, for the longest time, I didn't own a credit card. I used to scare. I used to really, because my father had always taught me how I have to spend. Credit card, oh my god, due date, oh my god, agar maine minimum payment nahi kiya, what will happen? My dad will really yell. So now, of course, I spend and
Yes.
I use a credit card now. Finally, I use a credit card and I really spend money on it. And now I understand the dynamics.
Yes.
But yes, so I always had this. So I think I've always been very safeguarded.
Yes, yes.
As well as being independent and working and going out,
Yeah.
they never stopped me. I
Correct.
don't think I was, that barrier where people think, you're a guy,
Yes.
you can go out. I think that was never there in my house.
Correct.
I think if the guy was given the same liberty as what I was given.
Exactly.
I was never stopped even if I came home at 2 o'clock.
Correct.
That was never questioned. Of course, they would just say, okay, are you safe? They would
Correct.
just call. And
Of
I think that
course.
typically a mother does to her son also.
Of course.
To her-
Absolutely.
So that barrier was never there. So we've
True.
grown up in that environment.
True.
So when I joined the industry, I didn't feel, because I've been grown up in that
Yes.
environment, I never felt, okay, it's a male-oriented industry and I'm joining a male-oriented industry. to be
But
honest.
that's a very unique perspective because, I mean, I don't think a handful of women would have this kind of a mindset. We all, in certain ways, are protected and we all have things like I was very naive and protected and things like that. My mother's the reason why we know how to swim and we go. The reason why I went to town, South Bombay for college and all, left to my father, we would do nothing because he's very overprotective and worried and all. But it's so important that we have the balance of the parents that we do because my mother would never say no. She's probably said no to me a handful of times. So my dad would always go like, "Tu ena hani padti, maine na padi che, tu ta dane to kai khabar જ નથી પડતી." You know how it is
That
with
typically.
that typical kind of a thing. And but the thing is that I think at core who we are is the way that we have seen the dynamics of our parents, the way we grew up, and our fearlessness doesn't come because we have surnames behind us. I think our fearlessness comes because at the core we've seen the right things and we've grown up. Like my father, when I tell him that Ajay, maid nathi aavi, I'm coming a little late to work, and he's like, but this is not what I have got you to work for, not to sit at home and do all of this. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, and let it go. You don't have to do everything just because you are a woman. The first time I heard it, I thought it was a very nice thing, and he regularly says, I have not raised you as a girl or my sister because she's 6 years younger to me. I've only raised you as equal as boys because so that there's nothing that you can't
There are
do.
no barriers.
Exactly. So, when I came in, and that time there was no whole thing of feminism or feminist or anything of that sort. Away, of course, it's all, the thing is happening, and people say how it was. But I said, but my parents have never treated me differently. I was coming home at 12 o'clock and 1 o'clock in the night. Yes, of course, I work in an industrial estate where there are no men. So we requested the society that you put security cameras. At that time, they refused. So my dad put security cameras everywhere so that if I am sitting alone, he can check on me anywhere. Is that being obsessive? No, it's not, because
It's just being cautious.
he's just
and
being cautious.
Yeah.
And we do this for the women in our organization. So he's my father. Why is he not going to do it for me? And it just naturally progresses down the line, right?
And I think we also inculcate the
Yes,
same.
correct.
I think, honestly, this era is not only about safeguarding women, it's
Yes.
also men.
Of course, absolutely.
So, even men, is men's safety? We don't really know, right?
Exactly.
So, when parents do it, they do it out of love.
Yes.
And the way they've brought us up.
Correct.
And I think I think men are equally protected by their parents.
Agreed.
So
Totally.
it's just a taboo where people keep saying, "Arey, you know what? You're a woman, and you are they really taking too much care? Are you?
Yes.
How is it?" It's not like that.
It's a very interesting thing we are talking about, because, we always talk about women's safety. We don't talk about men's safety. And this was highlighted by my friend. She has a son, and she went like, Chaitaly, we always talk about girl child, teenagers, when we are talking about the abuse and all of that. She says, but what about the boys? Because, we are sending them, and it is actually another aspect.
They get
because
ragged.
They get ragged.
abused,
Yeah,
they can get
all of it. And it's actually very sad with what is happening in terms of what is happening today in the world and all. But having said this, I have to ask you, your hiring process at work, is there a conscious bias to fill up, like you need to have so many men or so many women? How do you do your hiring process? Just not in the admin part of it, but when it comes to your drivers. Okay, there has to be a reason why your drivers stay with you longer, they stay with you better. All of us do the same kind of work. No, I mean, I'm saying my company may have a few little things different than what another freight forwarder and customs broker may have. I'm not into transport. So what is it that you are doing differently, as a result of which you are able to succeed, considering, now you are at the helm of affairs, and I'm sure it's not easy for you because their mindset is different, not because your mindset is
Correct.
different. So tell me how that works for you.
So honestly, Chaitaly, when I joined, I think the processes were in place, but they're not well shaped. There were SOPs, but they were not implemented. So first I had to work with people. And I think that is very important because, of course, I'm not from the industry. So I had to work with people. Also, I had to understand, of course, because I've been from the sales background, I knew how to tackle every person. So one of my mentors in sales and media, Mr. Manoj, he actually taught me, Reema, it's not important to get a meeting with the highest authority. You
Correct.
can actually reach out to the lowest level person
Yes.
and get the maximum information.
Yes.
And that's something which has always stayed with me. Even today, I do cold calling. And cold calling, not necessarily is calling. It can be on LinkedIn cold calling. It can be social media
Yes.
cold calling. So that is never gone from me. Okay. So when I joined, I was very clear I'm going to do that. And I had to work with people. So I always had that lihaz,
Correct.
and respect. Even when we generally address the fraternity of drivers as drivers. I call them as sarthis. And actually, a lot of people have now started addressing
Yes.
them as sarthis.
Correct.
So if you talk to them at their level and understand, even they go through so many challenges, they are
Correct.
not there, right? So making them feel a part of a family is very important.
Agreed.
And not only sarthis, even my staff, I call them as family. And trust me, there are days where they come out to me and say, should we have vada pav or should we have misal pav? Oh, we are going to call. Are you going to eat? When you actually are a part of them, they understand that you're not different.
Correct.
And that's when they
Agreed.
start working with you.
Agreed.
And
Totally.
this is not only for my industry per se, it's also with your home staff.
Correct.
When you make them feel their own and you
Yes.
understand and you have the empathy. So that is something which was different. We also actually, a lot of my old Sarthis are, 60% of them are old. Few of them must have left, and few of them are new drivers because we have new vehicles augmented, right? So we have this scheme which is, actually originated by Mahindra's called Chalak Se Malak. So what we basically do is we give a old vehicle, which is at a loan to a driver. He becomes an owner, which is interest free. He pays slowly, and he becomes a owner of a truck.
How lovely!
And he will attach the vehicle with us, so the business goes on.
Correct.
So they become owners. So that also keeps them with us.
Yes.
Also our hiring process, because we actually take care of cold chain. We carry pharmaceutical products.
Yes.
Extremely high valued and very sensitive products.
Correct.
And all of us use medicine. So we actually tell the drivers, please understand, we train them. आप जो carry कर रहे हैं, that your family may also consume. And the industry, the whole world would be using it. So you all have to be very careful. You all are the main people who are going to be carrying it.
Correct.
Because maybe last mile, we are not into last mile, we are more into B2B. But last mile, आप अगर संभाल के करोगे तो आगे वाले भी संभाल के use करेंगे.
Correct.
So that is constantly told to them. Safety norms, training processes. At the same time, also they are a part of, they are in the ecosystem, they are salaried. They're not on contract. So that also, so they have gratuity, they have ESI, PF. So that actually belongingness, and also educate them. I'll tell you what, a lot of people I've realized, because this is something which my father taught me, I think a lot of people need to plan. They don't know how to plan.
Agreed.
They get the money, आज crisis आ गया, हमें दे देना है. पर अगर आप plan करके post office, see, typically their mindset is post office में डालना है. डालो. Make them put that money. So you have to teach them. So like we have been taught, we have wealth managers who come and tell us, invest here, this is doing well. They have to be taught at their level.
Of course, absolutely.
So that tomorrow they don't have to come. Of course, also give them loans when they require, because that's, if you don't, even we take loans, right?
Of course, absolutely.
So when you start relating to them as us, that's when they stay with you. So that's what is different. I think
that's a very beautiful thing to say, that when you relate them as us, because it's very, very important. I remember when we actually had one of the gentlemen come and talk about financial planning, just SIPs. You could start at something as small as $500. Everybody can afford $500 in today's times, because our peons are paid crazy amounts of money, and they're very well paid. I still remember, out of my entire staff, just one girl whose father used to be a laborer, and he wanted his daughter to work with us, so she came on to us as a fresher. She was the only one who understood that financial planning had to start off. And she's like, Madam, मी करू का? I said, तू कर, तुला पाहिजे तर मी पैसे देते तुला. तू टाक 500 रुपये, मी तुला 500 रुपये टाकते. Because I've always educated girl children and, always paid for
Chaitaly,
them.
my father has always done this, not only to us, even the staff at our house. He'll say, you girls work so hard.
Correct.
And he said, you come to me, I will teach you.
Correct.
And so many of them have got married with their own money.
Right, of course.
Okay, they've built a house.
Yes.
And sometimes, even when I actually talk to drivers, or even when I talk to my staff, there are women. So we have like a fair amount of women. So it's not necessary you have to have women. But, initially, our background used to be, a lot of people were back end.
Okay.
Be in accounts and billing. There were a lot of women, and front end. So the shift, which after I joined, and of course, it's by grace of my dad, his partner, his daughters also joined a few years back. We all together made a conscious effort of, if someone wants to learn, please shift them.
Correct.
But you have to have hunger for learning.
Course,
and you have to be okay. You can't be in the comfort zone. अरे मेरे को मेरा पैसा मिल रहा है, मुझे इतना ही करना है, this is my job. One, they have to know that I have to grow.
Agreed.
So that is something where we used to keep talking, that you may be great at billing, but you may also be great at accounts, or you may also be great at operations. So we have a girl in operations also.
Lovely. Very nice.
So, and then I would talk to them and understand, क्या आप लोग सेव करते हो ना? Because मेरे पापा ने मुझे सिखाया, सेव करके does not mean आप कंजूस रहो, but आप प्लान करो.
Correct.
So अगर ये महीने आपने ज्यादा खर्च कर लिया, next month you
Correct.
hold
Agreed.
yourself back.
Agreed.
So that is something which will always stay with me, and I think it's very important where even the younger generation,
Yes.
see, we all have what our parents lived is different to what we live, and the next generation is going to be
Correct.
different. They may
Agreed.
have far more luxuries than what we
Yes.
had, but I think it's important for them also to understand that empathy, sympathy, love.
That is very important because I think that we are losing all three of them.
Yeah.
Love may still be there because of the movies and your OTT and things like that. So that may not go, but our empathy and sympathy levels are at rock bottom now.
It can't be about competition. I was, in fact, in one of the forums recently, I was saying, and someone asked me, what is important?
Yeah.
And Chaitaly, I said, you want to compete.
Correct.
Don't compete with people, compete with yourself. How I can do better.
Right.
And what is it that I can bring on table? We are in a rat race. Oh, is Chaitaly doing better than me? Is Reema doing better than me?
Agreed.
No, like she has you have your own
Agreed.
persona, your own strengths. I have my own strengths.
True.
I have to work on my strengths. If I get into that rat race, I will never grow. I
Of
will
course.
only go down. And every day is a learning.
True. The days when I think like this, I'm spiraling. Okay, oh God, we haven't done those many shipments this month, but somebody else is there, and then I'll see somebody else come in. I'll see somebody come into Adarsh with a big, fat, fancy ass car, and I'll go like, oh crap, that's when I'm spiraling down, and I'll go like, this is not how it's going to work because everybody has a different trajectory. My dad says that there is a circle. We were at the top. We will have to come down till the next person who's at the bottom will go up. So we will have our phases. We have to learn how to live with them. I think it's a very interesting thing. This is going very interesting. I have to ask you this, building on what we have discussed. Do you actually have a lot of women coming and seeking drivership positions with you all, or is it always still men? Even though now the government is talking of, giving benefit. Look, I don't know if India will ever be safe for women drivers. I'm not saying that the world is, with what's happening in the world right now with these Epstein files and all of that, or what's happening in Europe and all. I don't think we are really, really safe as a gender or as a sex, and it's the fact. And whether people like it or they don't like it, it's a fact. And it's proven every single day, every single minute. And I don't know how far we in India are going to have that mindset that a woman has to be an untouchable, even though, you may think that she's just a property, that she cannot be. So I don't know that even if the government is going to do things, will we ever have women drivers?
So honestly, we have women cab drivers already.
Okay.
Running,
Yes, I know.
okay?
We have that.
And in fact, there are a lot of, when I go for a lot of forums, and there are a lot of OEMs who have a full plant, manufacturing plant, product handled by women.
Correct.
Okay. There are women drivers. Of course, there are only handful of them.
Yes.
I've interacted with few of them, and I keep telling them that because we would love to hire a women driver. We've
Right.
not really got anyone, to be honest. But at a macro level, when I talk, I of course want people. But like you said, would I give them long routes? No. I will train them, of course.
Of
I would,
course.
if they aspire, then I'll have safety, precautions. Maybe I'll tell them to carry a pepper spray or something like that.
Like a body camera or something of that sort.
Have a camera,
Installed
camera
inside.
installed in the cabin, which is going to be mandatory very soon because
Which
ADAS
I think is
going to
very
become-
nice.
Yes,
Which is very nice.
And of course now we have AC cabins for
Yes.
for the Sarthis, right? And but I think to be honest, I think e-commerce will see a lot of women coming in because you come back home on the same day.
Yes.
Okay. If you're doing anything more than 100 kilometers, that's going to take some while. If you ask
I think
me.
it's okay.
And that is fine.
It's
As long
absolutely
I
fine.
think what important thing is women need to understand they need to be independent because they have
Yes.
great skills. They have to be skilled for it.
Agreed.
And they have to know that there's nothing what they can't do.
Agreed.
Like
Totally.
how many today, like we are constantly being asked, we are in a male-oriented industry. Yes, it was a male-oriented
But no
industry.
longer.
Now you're seeing handful of women, and going forward, you'll only see more women coming.
True. And it pleases me so much when I go to, when I take the women's wing from AAAFI to different, it hurts when I don't see women because of the environment, because there's no basic infrastructure, but it pleases me to no extent. And I'm telling you, I was jaw-shockingly pleasantly surprised is that JM Bakshi, for one of their terminals down south, had, I think it was Tuticorin, had young girls. Okay, they were even more educated than all of us are. Double graduates, forget postgraduate, though, is like normal only. I am talking science degrees, physics degrees, literature degrees, English degrees, chemistry, all of them. And they chose to come to the port, and they are learning, and they're
They're
operating
very curious.
yes, and they're operating the gantry cranes, they are operating those big fat cranes, and they are doing things, and they were tiny little petite girls. Okay, so when you are there and your winds is very high, you can easily get blown away, and you are going of up in the sky, in the air. Of course, I don't know the height difference from the ground, but obviously you are at least 10, 12, 15 stories high, and you're walking on the tiny little ramp to get to the cabin where you're going to do this. I was so amazed, and we asked them, I said, what brings you here? Because nobody has family in this industry. And they said there was a flyer, we decided we wanted to do something else with our lives. They don't know each other, but they just live in the town. And I thought it was simply marvelous. The first time at ICD Talegaon, I saw all of these women using forklifts, and they have been trained for it. And the lady in Kerala who has the license for 11 heavy duty equipments. And I remember telling Sudipda, I said, Sudipda, we have to get her to speak to her, and find out, because it's fabulous to do this. So it's so very, very important. And we need to have more women, but I completely agree with you. I wouldn't be okay to have them go. If they're doing the morning evening trips, then yes. But
Because see, if I can do it, I want them to
yes,
do it. Honestly,
agreed.
leadership comes with what you do.
Exactly.
If you can't, when you're comfortable. So, recently when we had done a visit, I actually drove a truck.
Oh, nice.
I don't have a license, of course, so I can't drive. It was a track.
Yes.
A testing track. And you'll be surprised. I'm a chairperson of ITWA. That's All
Yes,
India.
that was my next thing that I was going to come
so
to.
All India Transport Welfare
Yes.
Association, and we're a bunch of 25 women. And I'll tell you something which, because I've worked in different fields, we work as a team.
That's nice.
And it's not about me being a chairperson, because anyone who wants to take a portfolio can take a portfolio.
Of course.
If someone wants to do a bulk deal, someone wants to take some initiatives and
Yes.
work on something, we all work together.
Of course.
And this is something which is also inculcated in me when I was doing sales, when my mentor told me that your success will come only when the team is working.
Correct.
You may go and get the deal,
Right.
but who's the one who's implementing?
Correct.
So today, even in my office, the culture is very simple. If we crack a client or we do some work and we do some great work, it is the success of a team.
Of course, absolutely.
And nothing can be achieved. So
You-
it's always we, it's never I.
Of course.
And this is something which the generation really needs to understand.
Yes.
Whichever level you are.
True.
When you work for a firm, you accept it. Oh, for example, XYZ firm did so well.
Correct.
It's not about the name. That person is represent.
Yes.
That culture in logistics, supply chain needs to come.
True. So it's always that you will have to have one person leading, because you can't have too many
Yes.
thinkers, otherwise you're never going to get
You
work
can
done.
have mentors.
You can have mentors, but you need one person as a leader to guide and to tell you whether you are on the right track, you're not on the right track, but it's always teamwork. Okay, as a leader, you will take the blunt, you will take the flack,
Yes.
you will do that. But when the success is there, even if it pinches you, you still have to say we.
Yes.
You don't have
Yes.
to say I. And I have noticed this, it doesn't come easily to employees, it doesn't come easily to the owners or to the leaders, and it's something that has to be inculcated. I was talking to a bunch of students a couple of days back, and we were talking on empathy and things like that, and I asked them, they had no answer. I said, when was the last time you thanked somebody? Some small things, just as thank you and sorry. Everybody has an issue with it. How can I say thank you? Because that means that I'm being grateful. And so what if you're being grateful? You could be worth 5,000 crores, but you are still You are only getting that money because there are people working down the line for you. So you need to be grateful for that. And then it's like, how can I say sorry? I've always been told that you say too many thank yous and too many sorries, but that's just the kind of.
I also feel people need to appreciate, because if you don't thank them,
Yes.
how will they know they have done something wrong?
Exactly.
Secondly, and if you don't say sorry, listen, we all are not perfect. I may
Nobody's.
also make mistakes.
Of course.
And if I don't own up to that mistake, am I really being fair as a person, as a leader? No, of course not.
Of
So,
course.
recently actually I'd gone to, as a visiting faculty to IIM Ranchi, and I was talking to the students and I was telling them it's so important. Listen, I failed and I have nothing. I mean, if I had to start a branch and it didn't work, it didn't work.
Of
But
course.
did it stop me to not perform and do better? Or I had two options. One, I would get depressed and cry about it. And the second option, I had to pick up myself and say, okay, this didn't work. Let's look at other things.
Correct.
And I think that's what people need to understand. Of course we are going to feel low.
Of course.
But it's fine to feel low.
Of course.
It's fine to live with it.
True.
Live with it. Understand what was the learning. What right could you have done? And seek for help. Ask. When I joined, I'll tell you how I joined the association. Initially, because I didn't even know there were associations. Honestly, when you reached out to me to join FFAI, I didn't even know what associations do.
Correct.
So as a person, because like I said, I love meeting people. I thought I learned so much.
Right.
Because one, I learned about the industry. When I learned about the industry at a micro level, I'm also implementing the same in my firm. When I didn't know about technology, there's so much which is available there.
Yes.
When you talk to people, when you network with people, and when you work at a micro level, macro is answered.
Yes, of course. And this is my problem, that people think that you should only be working at macro levels and not at micro levels. It's not about owning companies. You could be the goddamn CEO, or you could just be a GM. You could just be a sales manager. Anybody, any position. If you don't know how to work in micro, you can't be successful at a macro level. They term working at micro saying that, you are obsessive compulsive, you don't know how to give up, you don't know how to delegate. It's got nothing to do with that. Because if you don't understand micro, how can you do at the macro level?
I think both are correlated.
Yes.
So first you start with micro,
and eventually
and macro comes back to micro, because
Correct.
you've learned something there.
Correct.
And you will want to implement it.
True.
So learning from scratch, going up to a level. Again, like you said, your father always said there's a big circle.
Yes.
In a different context, but
Right.
everything is a circle.
Correct.
So if it's a circle, you will have to go through that.
Of course, absolutely. But there was one question which was plaguing me, because we do a lot of pharma ourselves. And one of the biggest problems that we find is that there aren't enough reefer vehicles available. And when there are, the prices are very high. So for the longest time, there was just one company that we knew about. Like, we always knew Chaitaly Mehta. Then I came to know you. And then I was like, oh, you are also into cold chain and all. Tell me, because you see so much of transport happening. If there are 500 vehicles, you'll probably only see two or maybe 5 cold chain vehicles on the road. Correct me if I'm wrong. To me, it's not an exaggeration, because I haven't seen. What is stopping people from entering into cold chain? And also, why don't we have enough vehicles for cold chain?
So honestly, there is, the transition of BS4 to BS6, the vehicles cost has gone high. Reefer cost is
Sorry,
high.
I have to ask this. The BS4 to BS6
That's a norm
Okay.
of the vehicle, the technology.
The technology and sustainability.
So the trucks were on BS4 earlier and BS3. And now it's gone to BS6.
Okay.
So the whole technology where the emissions are lesser.
Okay.
So the cost is of course gone high. Vehicle cost has gone high. Refer system, the technology again evolved there. The kind of data, what even OEMs as well as the refer system people give out is different. Then there are a lot of SOPs in place, because when you're carrying medicines, so we carried some vaccinations during, COVID.
Yes.
And we also carry medicines and vaccinations and plasma, a lot of other products. We also do confectionaries, to be honest. But there's a lot which is riding, okay? And you have to really be accountable for it.
Agreed.
And honestly, we believe, at least when I talk of my company, we only stretch our hands till we can. We don't overcome it. Of course, if there is a possibility. But what has happened, sadly, the rates are not great. The returns are not that great for the kind of demands which are there, because of course customer needs there is so many compliances now. Chaitaly, you are in freight forwarding and you will
Please,
agree with me.
I hate
You know,
compliances.
how many people really knew transportation companies would need POSH? Right? We have POSH now. We have to comply to, we have POSH compliances to be complied to. We are CityPad GDP compliant, which is for pharma carrying those products. So one, there is not lack of education, lack of compliance education. That is also a cost, which is a heavy cost.
Of course.
So maybe you will see a lot of people entering, but people who enter will have to do their homework. And that is what we get on table, right? We don't overcome it. We only commit to what we can handle. And we're very upfront. I also tell my team when they go out and when they talk to new clients, please say only where you can say yes.
Correct.
Because we've built it from scratch.
Correct.
Don't overcome it. Don't say yes,
Agreed.
we will be able to deliver.
Of course.
And you will also fail. There will be few clients who may not be happy, but you have to ensure that you live up to the expectation.
Agreed.
Of course, pricing is something which I cannot, it's not in my hands.
Agreed.
Of course, we have to be competitive. But I think going forward now, the way is to collaborate.
Yes.
A mid-sized company like us will collaborate with other mid-sized companies, because both of us may compete at certain areas, but both of us will not compete at certain areas where they will be strong or where I'll be strong.
Correct.
So like you mentioned, Sheetal Parivar or Kulex or any Mahesh, all of us will have to work together.
Correct.
Okay? Because so like we are talking of multi-logistics parks, which are going to
Correct.
connect everything together.
True.
And it's going to make supply chain and logistics seamless.
Yes.
We as transporters will have to collaborate. There are a lot of aggregators who are working together. We are also, empaneling with them to see how we can work. Because I think the biggest challenge as an industry which we face is return loads.
Yes.
So I may actually carry my load with reefer, but I can carry it back with a
General
cargo.
Correct.
So that education, and that also for clients as well as for transporters, that is important, where people have to think out of the box.
Agreed, totally. And that brings me to the next question. We have a lot of cargo courier companies who will do LCL loads. Like Europe pretty much survives on multi-loads going all across. They also have reefer vans. I wanted to ask you, because we don't have in sea ocean cargo, nobody's ever ventured into doing LCL cargo by ocean for reefer. Like for example, if they just kept their temperature at 15 to 25 degrees. So if we have any, LCL operators, co-loaders watching this program, please do think about this, is that we have smaller cargoes that need to be shipped both by road. By air is not a problem because it goes, whatever it is. But by road, you have smaller shipments. By ocean, you can't always take a full container, or we can't always hire a full vehicle, right? My question to them is that if you tell the market that there is a 15 to 25 degrees vehicle available or a container available, and if there are 10 agents, freight forwarders, customs brokers, or even shippers who have 15 to 25 degree shipments or 2 to 8 degree shipments, which is not has cargo, but it could be confectionaries, it could be perishables, fruits, veg, whatever you want. Then you could co-load that and make it into one. I know it may not be practical, cost effective wise if they are going to the same city, but do you think we'll come to a point where, let's say, for example, your trade route is from Bombay to Gujarat, and there is a huge demand in a city like maybe Rajkot or Surat or Valsad, wherever it is, for certain products out of Bombay. But they are multiple products which are there.
Like a part load.
Like a part load.
I know what you're asking me. So honestly, that's not a foolproof for pharma.
Yes.
Because pharma is extremely sensitive the moment you open.
Yes, agreed.
But yes, for confectionaries or other products, it can work, to be honest. It's so 15 to 25, there is a good, it's a wide range.
Yes.
But when you talk of 2 to 8 degrees, when you're carrying vaccinations, you cannot do that.
Okay.
Because it's difficult.
Okay.
Because the moment you open the door.
Yeah.
So you can actually plan, but it's not a full. Also, pharma has a lot of compliances.
Yes.
So there you will not be able to do consolidation. Okay. But other products other than pharma, yes, consolidation will be a brilliant way forward, which maybe in future we can look at expanding, but also the clients have to be okay.
Yes.
Okay, because 15 to 25 being a wider range, it's not challenging. If it's 2 to 8, it will be challenging.
Okay, but if the factories are near each other or you're in the same vicinity as a 5 kilometer, 10
Yes.
kilometer
Then
radius,
also,
then
so
it's
you should know what we have. We have our trucks.
Huh.
We also have curtains, which you see in the mall.
Yes, yes,
And we only open one door.
correct,
So also your loading and unloading practices have to be in place.
correct.
If all those are put in place, then you will not see a variation in temperature.
So it's a future.
It's
a
a,
food
it is,
for
it is
future
it's a
thought.
food for thought.
So
yes.
if any of you are getting into this and you actually make money, please do remember that I will charge royalty for this. I come up with very good ideas,
Honestly,
so
there
please
was
do
no,
give me.
actually, Chaitaly, there was a person who actually had thought of this.
Yes.
But it was not a foolproof thing at that
Ah.
point of time, to be honest.
Maybe 10 years down the line.
But yes, it's people who are ready also, because we typically work with pharma.
Correct.
Now we have also got into confectionaries. We can look at consolidation, but confectionaries, the challenge is they need bigger,
Yes.
carrying capacity. They need more than 10, 15 tons. For me, because I primarily work for pharma, mine is around 24 tons, which is around, you can say 8 tons we can carry. 24-ton vehicle carries 8 tons.
Oh wow, that
Yeah.
much of a disparity.
Yeah.
Huh?
So that 24 ton typically would be carrying anywhere between 15 to 25 tons in a normal this
But
thing,
not
right?
in the reefer.
Not in the reefer would be 24 tons would carry around only 8 tons, up to 8 tons.
So my next,
because you have your container which is
Correct.
a certain also
then you have the
AC
weight of the
weight,
ACs,
yes.
My next question is, how difficult is it to procure reefer vehicles in India? Is it very expensive? Can just about anybody start off a business with one vehicle, or it's very cash intensive?
It is cash intensive because also the EMI is of course higher.
Yes.
Okay. Return loads is a challenge because if I'm carrying from A to B,
Yes.
okay, will I get a load back from B to A? That's it. Then, like I said, another way of looking at it is that you carry ambient. Now, again, ambient, they will have FTL loads, which is 9 tons. Mine would be 8 tons.
Ah, okay.
So, another way of looking at it is you carry it as a part load. But then, do I have enough capacity,
Yes.
office? Do I have enough capacity to keep that kind of material?
Correct.
So, there's a lot of planning.
Yes, of course.
So, someone who just wants to start with one truck, a smarter way would be collaborate with someone like us,
Correct.
and work with us.
Correct.
But they'll have to be extremely compliant. So we handle the compliance part. So we have vendors who actually attach with us. And for pharma, we cannot use an outsourced vehicle.
Correct.
To be
You
honest.
have to use
But
your
for
vehicle.
confectionaries, if they're okay, we always take permission from our clients when we are carrying cargo.
But I think it's a very intelligent thing to do, because this way, you are giving livelihoods to people, you are supporting them, you're also giving them a sense of dignity, because they could just come to you with a one small tempo. But if they are ready to do whatever that needs to be done to that tempo to make it compliant the way it is, maybe in the future, tomorrow, if you want to expand from reefer cargo to going to general or get into the last mile delivery, because I know we can't do reefer last mile delivery
Correct.
for so many operational issues, infrastructure issues and all, but companies like yours would actually help sustain the livelihood of the people, where they don't have to go down the rabbit's hole, and you can do that, which I think is a fabulous thing.
I'm going to take 2 points. I'm going to divide it into 2 things. One is, of course, when you talk of, so in my ambient, I had this girl who came up to me and said, my father used to drive an Uber and I want to start business for him, and because he used to own trucks and now he does it out of passion.
Right.
Because he doesn't. I said, attach. How many vehicles can you, buy?
Correct.
Procure. So she said, you tell me where is your requirement. I said, attach 2 vehicles, but I will not tell you refer. Because I know I have limitations there.
Barabar.
And so we actually started with part load and FTL with
Okay.
different locations, and we graduated. One of our client actually,
Oh,
a
lovely.
pharma client actually told my father's partner that you should start with pharma. And that's how we started. So we, of course, are also building that side where FTL and part load work is happening. So that is one side. And collaborations is a way forward for anyone.
Agreed. I have to ask you this. Do you have a favorite product?
All of them.
Yeah? Okay.
I would never. So of course we don't do perishable, like we don't do
The fruits and
non-veg
veg.
foods.
Yes, I understand.
But we of course do mainly into pharma and confectionaries. We can look at ice creams going forward. But ice creams is again very sensitive.
Yes.
And also price-wise, it differs, right?
Yes, because ice creams need to be more competitive because we are the end users and we are definitely not buying ice cream which is worth 2,000 bucks.
So it's
yes.
And also the kind of investments which we put in is completely different. So of course we may look at looking at consolidation for same degrees, and which actually I've been talking to my dad and his partner for a while, that we should maybe non-pharma clients we should start tapping, and that may be one of the way where we can grow.
Yes.
That is one vertical. When we are actually also growing our part load business and our FTL business going forward, yes. So like I said, if I failed at certain places, it's important you keep your eyes and ears open.
Correct.
To looking at innovative ways how you can grow.
True. And also, it's very important to have an open mindset because you never really know when you see something or when an idea clicks and it could just turn out to be profitable. One of my most successful verticals, and I say mine because it was my baby, just came out of sheer desperation. It just happened. And now when I think about it, if I was not in that situation at that point of time in the doldrums, I might have never even thought of it. But we've actually changed the way the industry functions with this particular vertical of mine. Yes, and there's lots of accolades, but there's a lot of learning also, and at the end of the day, whenever you do things, you don't necessarily do it for the fame or the recognition or the accolades. I think I can comfortably say for you, me, or for the rest of the women that if we were working, or even for the men, I don't think the fame and the accolades were there 20 years ago or 15 years ago, because it's very different now than what it is before.
What we did was for our internal happiness.
Exactly.
It was not to prove, it was a point to prove yourself that I can do this. It is not about, oh wow, Chaitaly's done this or Reema's done this. Oh, now people are going to clap for us. No, we don't need that.
True, totally.
I think in the end, today, if we are sitting here, we want to give back to the society what we learned.
Absolutely.
And what we didn't learn and what we learned by ourselves.
True, I agree.
Because that's how you get, and the more, it's said in spirituality, आप दोगे तो आपको ज्यादा मिलेगा.
Agreed.
It's not about ज्यादा मिलेगा. Automatically मिल जाता है.
I agree totally. Like I had this major chip on my shoulder that I had to do certain things. I had this fire in my belly. I had to prove certain things. So it was never about anything else. And I always tell people that all of this, what you see, is only in the last 7 years. 25 years, there's nothing that has happened. So I completely agree, and I am always for organic growth and for organic success and not for the shortcuts. Do you have regrets in way you handle? Look, we've all had mishaps. We've all had that life-altering moment where one shipment has changed our life completely. Sometimes for the good, sometimes for the bad. Sometimes it's created something wonderful out of the ugly. Did you ever have something of that sort in your life?
Like I said, I was always safeguarded and I was always guided, to be honest.
But
if you ask me per se in transportation from the time I've joined the industry, I was really... Once I was in the office, and I am one of the last ones who leaves an office, and I happened to be there, and we got a call and we were being dropped. One of the trucks, a cold chain truck was being dropped, and
everybody's nightmare.
I have to take up this. I want to learn, and it was really disheartening, and it was extremely challenging, Chaitaly. And at that point of time, great learnings how technology helps you, because you can way back and see where the shipment was. And literally like a movie theme, I think the shipment was some 630 boxes, and then some 60 boxes were actually thrown. They'd broken a lock and thrown. And that product had no value once you throw them.
There's so much of violation.
And at that point of time, I realized when I had to file an FIR and get a Panchnama, language barriers.
Yes.
I'll tell you what really helped me. Associations, networking really helped me, because I've never interacted with cops. I've never interacted with anyone. And I don't know the process. And I also reached out to people, and that is something which I think sales taught me. And of course, I'm not a master. Even when I went to teach at IIM Ranchi, I said, listen, I'm not a master, and I may be few questions I may not be able to answer. I will get back to you, because great that I know this question.
Correct.
And I don't know this. So it's knowledge for me.
Yes.
And there's a lot which I'll take back from you all.
Correct.
And of course, you all will take back something from
Agreed.
me. But yes, as a leadership role, I'll have some more takeaways to give it to you all that you all can take back from my learnings. And I hope I help. But that was a game changer. And that was not a regret, but I said, it took me so much time. I wish I could do it better.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
And that kind of said that, yes, I can handle it, but I should be self-sufficient to handle it.
Agreed.
Why did it take like 20 days? Why could I not do it faster? Why was there hurdles? What is going wrong?
Correct.
Where are we going in an ecosystem? Where are we going wrong?
Right.
And of course, when you lose out on a client, it hurts, Chaitaly.
Life defining.
And for price, please, it's high time people understand service is extremely important.
I am so glad you mentioned it.
It is about our people put in a lot of efforts. It's not that as owners we are sitting in a fancy
Correct.
cabin, and we also are working.
Agreed.
If we get business, they are the ones who are implementing that business.
Of course.
So please understand as an ecosystem, talk about, understand their efforts.
Agreed, totally.
So maybe my competitor may give you a better rate, but in the end, we have an ecosystem which we are taking care of.
Agreed, totally. We've had clients who say, oh, you are $50 higher. And I'm like, I can't do it if I'm not making $50 a container, because we have expenses, we have overheads. I'm not running a charitable organization. You need to make profits. We need to make profits. We only get business.
It has to be a win-win situation.
Yeah, it has to be a win-win. And if you are making your X amount of profit, don't look at that
Unfortunately,
$50.
all the supply chain people generally will have budgets.
Yes, no, I don't think
we have budget, and the last mile road transport ना हमारे पास आपको वर्ड चाहिए तो फिर वर्ड में ये भी तो include करो यार.
True. And I think I will say for the entire transport, maritime, logistics industry that we are only dependent on importers and exporters, and sometimes we get ripped because of that, because they know that we need them to survive. No doubt, without us, the economy is not going to survive, the world is not going to survive. But we are at the bottom end of the food chain, and because there are some of us who are very insecure, and fine, yes, you have every right. I'm not saying I don't have those days, but you don't lower your principles and you don't lower yourself to that level. Like my dad says, you are running after business, you're not looking at the finance. I am here for you. That's why you
Correct.
do this. But if I'm not around, you will have to look at finance first and then look at the business. And he says, Chaitaly, I'm okay if we make less profit, but I'm not okay if I have outstandings. So we give 30 days credit. The very little is the 45 days. Mari ne, I have to tell my dad, please, Karine. And then if the money doesn't come, he tells me,
our working capital we have to manage.
Yes.
Our EMIs we have to manage.
Yes, he says, I don't have the money, you have to make sure.
You have to pay on time.
Absolutely.
You can't differ on that.
Of course.
So whether we give a credit, even if, like you said,
Yes.
but for us transporters, sometimes it used to go up to 90 days also, right?
Please, there are agents who are giving 120 days, 180 days credit also.
That is where the ecosystem, where people have to understand. I think it's high time people work together and not compete. Please, at least at macro levels, understand this. That नहीं 45 days के बाद हम उसको blacklist कर देंगे client को. Why can't as a whole association where people can say, we will blacklist this client. Why are
doesn't work, yeah. This comes to the associations, being part of 4 associations. This is so common. I was once asked by a client, what is your worth? I said, why is my worth important? Like, my worth means my company's worth. Said, if you're not a 100 crore company and this company is worth 50,000 crores. So you can imagine there's no money dearth. If you're not 100 crores, then we can't take you on board. I was invited for them and to their organization and all, and to the meeting, and they said, if you're not worth 100 crores, then I don't think we can onboard you as a logistics player. I said, why does my being 100 crores is important? Okay, no, because we need credit from you. I said, you are going to take me on for my expertise and for the money that I'm going to save you. I don't have to be worth 100 crores to fund you, because even if I'm worth 500 crores, which I'm not spending that money on you. We had problems and one of the clients didn't pay us. So we went to the management, and also they said, now that you've gone to the management, we are blacklisting you for going and complaining about us that we have not paid you money. 5,000 crore company. Then he says, I said, you want to blacklist me? It's okay. If I have to get your business, I will get my business. And as luck behold, we still do their business. He says, you have to understand which level of client you're working. I said, why should I work? Why should I think of your level? Should you not think what my company is giving to you? The expertise. I said, is that important, or what level you are working at is important? So, okay, we started off at ground level and now we are blah, blah, blah. We are so and so company. I said, good for you. He says, why are you not at that level? Should you not have this kind of banking power available? I said, I'm your supplier, logistics supplier. You're going to tell your stationery fellow that he has to be worth 50 crores because you're going to ask 50,000 papers from him every day? I said, he's not going to do
never
it.
going to ask them.
I said, my company is not meant to be your money giving institution because you choose not to pay us on time. I choose not to be your vendor because you expect me to have this. And I said, you insult my company once, and because you are my client, I will respectfully disagree. But next time you tell me this, I'm not going to keep
I'll
quiet.
give you an example, Chaitaly. I went through, so I used to do 80% of a business for a client, and the team changed and their systems changed, their processes changed overnight, and we have complied to all of it, right? And there's a lot, now with technology, you have to buy some space in the cloud to keep your data. And
of course, it's so expensive.
It's become very expensive. When the audits happen, it's us because we are extremely compliant.
Yes.
When the time comes to give business, the price plays importance.
Oh, well, then all of this doesn't come free of
I'll tell you,
cost.
there are sometimes when, and I've told this to my team, sometimes you shake hands and say, sir, this time we've not worked, in future we'll definitely work.
Correct.
If a client chooses to walk off and not understand your credibility, at some point of time your client will come back to you.
Agreed.
Because
totally.
maybe today price is, maybe I'm not, see, even they are working for a company.
Agreed.
So I don't want to, it's not a particular person, it's the decorum of the whole system.
Yes, because it's the company's...
it's the company's allocated budget or whatever, but he has to. So this is something which I would want viewers to know, that it's not about where you work. You know Reema from Reema Transport? No, you have to know Reema. You have to know Chaitaly, not from EKF. You have to know Chaitaly, because I may be at Reema Transport, she may be at
today.
EKF. Today, we don't know where we are going to be tomorrow.
Exactly.
People have to know people. And they have to know your credibility of your worth of work. And what you bring on the table. And what are your commands. It's service.
Of course.
But we bring trust. And that has to stay with people.
I always tell my staff that, you can do all this foofying and all of this show shining because you have a company behind you.
Correct.
Remove that company behind you and see if the airlines, the shipping lines and your vendors are giving you that same respect or not. When I leave Adarsh, I know I'm no longer Chaitaly Mehta, the queen of Adarsh. I am Chaitaly Mehta, a middle-class citizen living in Bombay, susceptible to the same shit that every single person will go through. Maybe I don't have to travel by bus or train to feel that, but I will go through it. When I'm in Adarsh, I am who I am. But once I leave Adarsh, my identity of EKF goes away until the next phone call comes. If you give yourself so much of importance in your head, it's never going to happen. Sometimes I think, we just inflate ourselves to that level.
No, for me, I'll tell you what, it's important that people know you as a person.
Yes.
One. Second, that it's not about, like of course, you have a brand name which supports you. Like today, honestly, I was not from the transport industry. I've come from a media background or consulting background. People didn't know Reema. Of course, the first article when I wrote, actually, I was really, I didn't even know whether I was right. I actually started writing only after 7 years.
Lovely.
Because I was not ready. And only when I was ready, I wanted to be there. And only that's when I actually started speaking in forums, or I started coming on platforms, right? But then I realized that people learn from my experience. So that is something where people have to understand, have connections, build connections in that way. People have to know you. Of course, there's a brand which is there. Yes. But you may also work for another brand.
Of course.
People is important. Relationships.
People is important. It's also the culture that you carry at the company that is very important. Before we do and before we get into the fun segment, so after all of this, and there are so many revelations, and for all of you who haven't heard Reema, you have to go on to her LinkedIn page, and she's also a TEDx speaker. So please look up her TEDx talk. Please look up her LinkedIn. She writes beautifully, and no, ChatGPT doesn't help her or Gemini doesn't help her. She writes her own stuff, and you should listen to her conversation. And if you're lucky enough to be listening to her live, she has a wealth of information and she's brilliant at what she does. I have to ask you this. You teach, you go to different colleges, schools, and things like that. What do you see when you see these kids? Do you see a potential heir to your transport industry? Not just one, but in general, kids who could take this industry forward. Like, there are a bunch of us in the industry, and many a times I think that after us, who is going to go forward? Like, initially, before all the other kids came in, it was just Somil and me in the air cargo, so I was the only girl. Then there was, and Somil came in 1 year elder, so we were coined the golden children because the kind of work that we did and all. Then of course we had everybody else join us, but there is a future because we have some phenomenal kids who are doing phenomenal work to take the industry forward. Their own companies, so they are doing brilliantly only, but as industry per se, do you see that kind of potential for your industry and also in general for the logistics, maritime, and transport industry? Because you are one of the few people I know, besides Neerav and Tej and probably Harsh, who actively teach. And you travel to places to teach, especially IM kids and all. Do you think they actually have it what it takes to be in our industry?
So honestly, the first time when I went, I didn't even know whether I could teach. I'm being honest. Okay, because of course sometimes you have it in your head and
Yes.
you can't speak it aloud. And I
Yes.
was very nervous. I did it online. First I did online. Then I actually did my post-graduation from IES. I even went there and I gave them a case study. Then I was actually evaluating some case studies online again for them. And recently I was a part of IMM Ranchi where I went and taught. And when I went and I was wondering what will I teach. I was very sure I'm not going to teach them theory because I'm not a theory person.
Correct.
I started my interview saying I'm not a scholar. I love to speak what I've learned on
Correct.
ground. And that is what I actually taught them. One. Secondly, I gave them what I taught them. My case study was relevant to that. So I basically wanted to see how much they have grasped.
Correct.
What they have actually heard, what have they heard from me. Then I actually opened the forum where I actually wanted to know what each of them are planning to do
Right.
and how are they going to take. So few of them have higher aspirations. Some of them have leadership roles. Of course, they were very inquisitive. And that is something which I loved. I said, that is what I wanted. I wanted it to be more interactive. That's when you realize what the youth is ready for. And
Correct.
I think they are ready. It's just about they getting the right platform, Chaitaly. They are hungry to learn. Some of them shy, some of them don't. Some of them are open. Some of them give a very good feedback where they actually suggest what you should do. So yes, the youth is ready to actually take it forward. But they have to change their mindset. They have to know what they're getting into. If they have aspirations where they are going to straight away make
Yes.
lakhs of rupees and if
Not
they fall
happening.
flat, they have to be ready. Like they have to be ready for struggles. They have to be ready for learnings. They have to be ready to fall down. They have to be ready to stand
Ready to
up
be
in that
yelled at.
Yeah, ready to be yelled. Ready to be not be paid. So okay, this is extremely important. And why I'm saying this, I didn't start with a very fancy salary,
Of course.
guys, and it was not about transportation.
But I have to stop you. This is something that when I tell people, they say, "Oh, but it's your father's business." It's got nothing to do with your father's business.
In fact, father's business, you may have to do it free.
Exactly.
And there
So-
may be few roles which you'll end up doing
Exactly.
without even asking them, right?
Absolutely.
And you're not going to be thanked. You're not going to be, at least when you work for someone, you're thanked. You've been
Yes.
appreciated.
Yes.
Here you have to motivate yourself and you have to say, okay, now I've done it. Okay. Pat yourself. Okay, now
You're
you
never
feel
getting
better.
a certificate saying you are the
Never.
employee of the week, the month, the year,
Nothing.
the decade. You're never getting that.
Nothing. And they will say, तो क्या हुआ हम भी अपने आप ही सीखे तो हाँ हम भी सीख ही लेंगे this is what every time I say पापा मैंने I want to do this तो ये तो मैं कर चुका हूँ I said okay आप कर चुके हो मैं करूंगी
Okay, one last question before we get into the fun part. 3 things that people don't know about you that they will learn today.
when I'm stressed
Yeah,
I love sketching and I love dancing.
fabulous. And will we ever get to see your sketches?
Yes, Instagram. I've put
Okay.
few of them.
All right.
During COVID, I used to, but right now I've
Okay.
not been sketching. It's been a while. So
Okay.
I want to get back to it.
Number 1.
And that's one. I'm a fun person to be with. I love meeting people and I love interacting.
That is not something new that
No,
everybody
there are
knows.
some people who really think, oh, she may not really talk. or-
But perceptions are not our problem.
I love sharing. So, and I also love learning.
Nice.
So I think every relationship is a two-way. And I love building relations. It's not about just meeting people randomly and not being in touch. I love keeping in touch unless the other person does not want to keep in touch.
Awesome. That is superb.
Third thing, I can be lazy at times. And I'm a
You're
late
entitled
night
to it.
person. I'm not a morning person.
You're entitled to it, and that's fabulous. One last thing. I know I keep saying one last thing, but like the good juice goodbyes happen, this just keeps happening. What's your vision for the association for your women's wing? And what's your vision for the company? Two lines before these guys
Okay.
decide
So for women, I think they need to work together
Okay.
and live by an example that we work as a team. And of course, there will always be one leader who lead it, but you have to work as a team. That's what we bring on table.
Right.
And always be hungry for learning and never stop. There's no stoppage. We multitask at a lot of things. We handle house. We also handle office.
Yes.
And at leadership role, we can do brilliant.
Yes.
Of course, even men do, but we can also bring that
Agreed.
on table. Don't underestimate yourself and don't ever embrace your failures.
Agreed.
And for my organization, I want to see the vision I have is, of course, so organically grow.
Yes.
I don't want to overcome it.
Yes.
I want to live by what my cultures have been. I am definitely ownership to old methods and new methods, and I'm going to live by that. So that is, I will definitely want my organization to grow organically and work with collaboration. That's the way forward.
Good. So for all of you who are watching this, if you want to get into transport, please give a call to shout out to Reema through LinkedIn, through her social media. She would be happy to help you. If you want to collaborate with them, please go ahead. She would be happy to do that. For ladies who are already in the transport business, get in touch with her association and become part of the association, because associations are the way to go. If you don't have an association backing you, you don't have your knowledge, you don't have your learnings, you don't have that camaraderie and friendship, and I only speak from experience. And now we get to the fun part of
Thank
it.
you, Chaitaly, for all this.
Oh, you're most welcome. And so the people at CargoTalk love, this thing. I think they love Karan Johar. So we have the rapid fire, but this is now going to be the rapid fire of the logistics industry. So no thinking, just straight off. Excel sheets or dashboards?
Dashboards.
Perfect. Forecasting or firefighting?
Forecasting with preventive measures.
Very nice. Process or people?
People.
Good. Early mornings or late night operations? Late nights. You have to let me finish, others they're going to think that I've shared questions with you in advance. So we will disregard that answer of hers. One minus. Driving trucks or fancy SUVs?
Both.
Both? Okay, good. Road, railway, air and ocean. Favorite mode?
Road first, of course.
Of
because
course.
I'm road transportation.
Yes.
Air later.
The air comes because we need to
Yeah,
travel.
yes.
A vehicle breakdown or a missing driver? What's
Missing
worse?
driver.
Missing driver. Oh man, that is worst, isn't it? Favorite brand for trucks? Is that putting you in a spot?
Yes.
Okay, so we will not ask that question.
I think all.
All?
Which I work with.
So whoever they work with, the next time you see. Okay, the first time you saw your vehicle on the road, what was your feeling?
I could not believe.
Yeah?
I told my dad loyalty.
Perfect. The first time when I was traveling an airline cafe and we do their clearances for food and all, and I got the food on this thing, I wanted to stand up whilst we were in midair because they were serving us some meals and say that, you know what, all of this is because of me and my company, as in like my team and me. Me means my company, not me individually. And I said it's because of my team, because they slog all those hours and we've done the clearance. So the food cooking we haven't done, but the trays, the trolleys,
Ingredients and everything.
so the mags and everything. So if you like it, please say shout out to all those invisible people. I almost actually got out of I was on my way to Hong Kong or China, I can't remember. And the first time that we cleared the first kiosk came for KLM donkeys years ago. Jet Airways didn't have it, Indigo didn't have it. And I remember for the longest time, because I used to travel 20 days a month there, every time I passed through, I would wave out to that little kiosk saying, hi, how are you? And when they took that kiosk away, I felt personally betrayed because, my team had worked so hard to get it there. And then when they say, oh, this airline has a kiosk and this airline has this touchscreen and all, and I go like, you know what? The first one came through this airline and it was done by us. The sense of pride.
For me, of course, seeing my own truck, I see
Yes.
it every day because I sit in office
Yes.
and there are some trucks.
But it's different when you're on the road.
Actually en route, I feel more pride when I see my friends sending me pictures and
Yes,
see the truck.
yes, yes.
And I see, yes, I'm carrying this. And, of course, during COVID was the time, a shout out to everyone saying that, hey, we carried vaccination.
Yes, of course. Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. If you enjoyed this, please do send us feedback. Should you not have enjoyed this, please respectfully put in your negative comments. I don't do well with trolling. I'm sure my guests don't do well with trolling, and we have enough trolls on Twitter. So we don't need more trolls in the logistics industry, but I'm sure you will have enjoyed this. Please do join us again for the next episode. And if you have a takeaway, we would love to hear from you and tell us what you thought was nice. And if you could even take one takeaway, not only from this episode, but all the other episodes that you have seen and you haven't seen, then you need to get onto the bandwagon of She Moves Cargo, and you need to get onto that family and start watching this, because these women are just absolute dynamite. And not because BTS is coming back this year and I hope to get tickets to go watch Dynamite in person, but because these ladies are truly dynamite.
We all actually are, even Chaitaly's, and we really need encouragement from you all to know how
so
to
with
take
this, hope you have enjoyed our session for today. Have a lovely day, whichever part of the world you are in, and please learn to be kind to yourself and learn to be kind to others around you, and say thank you and sorry today. Bye bye. See you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Reema.
We need to do this.
Yes.